Hi everyone, welcome to step 8, which is the getting started process and the induction webinar, the Skype call and the induction webinar. And this training is designed to help a new team builder go through the process and understand everything that you need to do to help your new distributor get off to a really good start in the business. So it's a very, very important step in many ways. And what I'm going to show you will certainly help you understand the overall process and how you can duplicate our very successful 10-step system and help get your new distributors to duplicate that system absolutely straight away. So here is I'm going to put the training up now. And first of all, I'm going to cover what you do as soon as someone's actually joined. So as soon as someone has paid their money and registered in the business, I'm going to go through that with you. And this is the first stage of the process, is to welcome people to the organization. And the way that we do that is we send them a welcome email, but you should also just make sure you give them a call while you're sending that welcome email, if you're not already on the phone to them when they complete the process. So we just basically explain the next stage by telephone, and we send them the welcome email, which refers them to the 10steps.info website, which is the support site created by Abigail Coakley, one of the leaders of the 10 steps. And in that site, there's a process which they follow to get up and running, making money with the business. So we send them the welcome email. And in that welcome email and on the support site, there's one of the first things they need to do is to send you a Facebook request, a friend request on Facebook. So you need to connect with your new distributor on Facebook straight away. So make sure they've got a Facebook account, and you then need to get them to download Skype, because the first call is done by Skype. The first getting started session is done on Skype. And we also need to find out at this stage, do they have a printer? And if they say yes, they've got a printer, we then need to ask the really kind of over obvious question is, does it have paper and does it have ink? Because it's no good if we just ask them, have they got a printer, and the printer's up in the attic and there's got no ink in it, it's not going to work. So we need to find that out. If they haven't got paper and ink, we need to basically get on to Barney's print shop and order the starter pack and have all the catalog slips sent down to them. But assuming they've got a printer with paper and ink, they can download the information from the support site. They can download the catalog slips, the sorry I missed you slips, and all the stuff that they need to get up and running. So that's the first beginning of the process. But we also recommend that you understand the principle that we build the relationship first, the distributorship second. So it's a good idea to send your new distributor a welcome card and just write a note in it saying, welcome to the team, looking forward to working with you. We're going to give you 100% help and support, and send them a couple of round books as well to help them get started with the retail. You can also include in that a disc if you like. You could include the first audio disc of the 10-step system, or some Darren Hardy material, or some Jim Rohn material, like building your network marketing business. But it's quite a good idea to send out an audio disc as well. And then also refer that on that site, they're referred to the first videos they need to watch to start selling products through social media. So that's the very first thing to do when someone's joined your business. You've had the confirmation email from Clean Easy. They're now in your team. Ring them up, send out the welcome email, and go through that staged beginning. So that's how we get them up and running. We direct them to the 10steps.info website, and everything is there. And then we book the Skype call for the following day, usually the following day. In most cases, there might be exceptions, but then we book the Skype call. And then when we do the Skype call itself, the purpose of the Skype call is to get to know your new distributor, make a friend of them, and to find out what their priorities are. And so we do that by asking questions about why they've joined, what their number one priority would be, what would be a good income for them, what are they hoping to get out of the business in the short term. And take your time with that. Be relaxed, be friendly, and try to reassure your new distributor that they've made a good decision. And explain your role. It's really important that you explain your role, that we're not their boss. They are the boss. All we're here to do is to steer them in the right direction by coaching them in the system. So our job is one of support. They decide, how hard they work, how fast they work, when they want to do it. All those sorts of things are up to them. All we're here to do is help them get started and make a good plan. So the first stage of the process of the Skype call is to get to know them. The second part really is to tell them a bit about the system and to get them to commit to following and learning the system. And that system basically comprises of, number one, retailing effectively. So we need to get commitment to handing out catalogs and selling products through social media. So we need to get them to agree that they're happy to do that, and to show them, a brief overview of how that works, because the detail will be covered in the induction webinar. But we can give them a brief insight into how we retail with catalogs. For example, is it going to be posting catalogs or is it going to be presenting catalogs? We need to talk that through with them. And then once we've got their agreement to follow a retail plan and a retail system, we can formulate a plan, get them to fill in a plan of when they're going to put the catalogs out. The next thing we need to do is get a copy of that plan, because we're going to refer back to it later during the weekly review when we may want to adjust the plan. So retailing an effective plan is the first thing. Second thing we need to give them a brief overview on is the importance of communicating with their sponsor, and also to go on the Facebook groups every day to find out what's going on, find out what products are being sold, and take advantage of that training resource. So the importance of communication with the upline is very, very important thing to emphasize during the Skype call. And again, just reassure them that you're here to help them, and that that they're not imposing on you by calling you. And tell them that make sure they've got your contact numbers, make sure that they are aware that they can phone you whenever's convenient to them, leave a message and you'll get back to them if you're on a call or if you're busy on an appointment or with your family or whatever. But emphasize that they should communicate with you on a daily basis to help them achieve their goals that you've discussed. And then the next thing is to point out about learning the system, which of course we do in two ways really. One is through webinars, and there's a webinar every Wednesday. Make sure they've got that booked into their plan and into their diary, and make sure they're also booked into their PSG webinar, which could be on a Monday, Tuesday, or a Thursday. So make sure they know about the webinars. And then finally, in terms of the workshops, go back to the 10steps.info website and direct them to their local workshop and get them to book into that workshop straight away. Because if they want to build a business, they need to access the training, and that's where they get the training from. So I would direct them to that website, get them to look at the website and go through the process of booking the next workshop with them. Do that right from the very beginning. And if you do that, you've achieved everything you need to achieve in the first Skype call. Except you finally need to make sure that they're booked into the webinar, of course, the following day. Now, have a checklist. It's a good idea to use a checklist. There is a checklist in the workbook, just in case you forget anything, and it is easy to forget things when you get caught up in conversation. So make sure that you have a look at the checklist in the workbook, and that you've covered all the relevant points in there. Then we go on to the induction webinar, and the induction is a more detailed explanation of the Getting Started pack. Obviously, they can download the Getting Started pack from the 10 Steps .info website, and I'm sure they will do that if you tell them to do that. But we need to make sure that they're on the webinar and they've got that pack. Now, webinars run every day in our system, and they're done by leaders in the business, experienced distributors who are at the level of bronze exec or above. And the big advantage of that is that you're getting people to take your new distributors through the induction process who are already accessing residual income, royalty income, which is what the 10 steps was set up for. So make sure they're booked into the webinar. And the idea of that webinar is to get them into profit as soon as possible. And you should tell them that they'll last approximately 1 hour. So that's the purpose of the induction webinar, is to get them off to a flying start. Now, here's the content that's going to be covered during the webinar. And as I've mentioned already, we give them a brief overview of that on the Skype call: retailing effectively, communicate upline, learn the system, and share the opportunity. Sharing the opportunity is covered to varying degrees, but it will be covered on the webinar more than the Skype call. So here's the golden rules of retailing. If they're posting adverts on social media, they need to post daily for 3 to 4 months to build up their Facebook sales group. And likewise, they need to think long term. If they're handing out catalogs, they need to do that for 3 to 4 months in their local area to get 20 customers a week for 3 to 4 months. And then if they're posting, it's a bit longer, 4 to 6 months. So those are the golden rules. So no less than those figures stated there if they're going to have an effective retail plan. And that will be covered with authority and conviction by someone on the webinar who's already done it before them. Social media, selling products online, setting up their own group. And we will probably ask people to type in the chat bar on the webinars, have they actually set up their Facebook group, just so that we know where they are. But they get started with that process by looking at the videos on the 10steps.info if they haven't already done it. Now, there's currently actually 4 videos on there. It says 5 here. There will be ones added, though, to that page. So presenting catalogs, we're going to cover the golden rule: no less than 100 to 150 catalogs a week. We're also going to cover all the practical things they need to do, like labeling the order forms, printing out slips, all the sort of practical day-to-day things they need to do, how to deliver the first 50 catalogs using the retailing books. And the key point that will be emphasized over and over on that webinar is that they should work closely with you, their sponsor. That's really, really important. And that will be emphasized throughout, and that we should inoculate them to expect better results in week 2 than week 1. Here's some things to note, which again we will go through the mechanics of them getting started with presenting catalogs, what time of day, not posting catalogs if people are not in, ignoring the stickers. All the stuff that's in the getting started pack will be covered on that webinar, and collecting is much faster and they don't lose catalogs if they're presenting. So keeping records, using the round book, all that will be covered, and speaking with the sponsor every day, all of that is covered. We'll also go through a typical plan on there, and then we'll go through the alternative system of shoving catalogs through letterboxes. And the pros of that are that it's simpler, and you just put 200 catalogs out for 24 hours, 3 times a week, using the round book, etc. Collecting 24 hours later, going back with "sorry, I missed you" slips, knocking on the door, all the fundamentals that they need to basically put into practice, which are in the Getting Started pack, will be reinforced on the webinar. So if you get them to read the Getting Started pack and then they come on the webinar, we're getting them off to a really good start. So all the things about going back for catalogs 3 times, not assuming they're lost, all that sort of stuff, knocking every time, all of that will be covered by the webinar. The importance of going back for stragglers, as we all know, there's lots of orders in stragglers, so that needs to be covered. Typical retail plan of 200 catalogs up to 3 times a week. A plan to earn about £100 a week or get 20 customers a week. And the key point there is to get 20 customers per week. Then we go through the plan. Now, this is really, really important. And hopefully you've introduced this at the Skype call stage, but you should now have a copy of your new distributor's plan. If you haven't, then you need to get that from them as soon as possible, with, of course, their PSG webinar and the main team webinar on a Wednesday night included, and any other commitments that they've got which will prevent them from working the business. Account management will also be covered on the webinar, and we don't need to go into huge detail here except to emphasize the point that their clean easy business is probably their only asset that will pay them an income, so they need to pay their account on time. Things that will happen: other distributors' catalogs, no territories, Victor Meldrews, not taking advice from members of the public, all those usual things that we cover. We don't bite the door stickers. And of course, we will need to explain that we're building a business over 3 months and that there will be fluctuations, good days, average days, and not so good days. But the key thing, again, is to emphasize the message of focusing on 20 customers a week. And everyone goes through the same experiences. And you cannot build a business without experiencing all of those things. And it's all character building stuff. Now, developing the right mental attitude is important. That's why we recommend daily communication and reading the right books, coming to the right meetings. That's very, very important. Dealing with negative members of the family. It's good to forewarn them about that. And it is a trust process. This is a process where we establish trust with our new distributor to follow our advice, because if they trust us and they follow our advice, we know that the system will produce the results we want to produce. So the importance of working towards customer base is pretty crucial. Takes 3 months if we're presenting catalogs. If we're posting, takes a bit longer, 4 to 6 months. But after we get to customer base, of course, lots of our distributors earn 20 to 30 pounds an hour, which is phenomenal for a part-time top-up income. And if we then teach other people the same thing, we can build unlimited income. But it's important to keep reinforcing that message in all of your conversations with new distributors. So that's a kind of like a step 10 coaching tip. But we need to keep exposing people to the fact that people can earn 20 to 30 pounds an hour, and even more actually now with social media. So the retail section of the webinar is very comprehensive, very detailed. People should take notes on that webinar, and like I say, also read the Getting Started pack. Once we've done retail, we need to move on to step 2, which is communicating upline. And it is an established fact that new people who regularly contact their sponsor and successful upline are far more successful than those that don't. In fact, those that don't tend not to stay very long in our business. That's reality. There are exceptions, but if you were talking about the norm, most people who don't communicate don't last. So it's very important that we try to make people understand the importance of communicating upline by Skype, on the telephone, through the Facebook group, by email, text, all of the usual communication every day. Daily basis, we recommend that you communicate with your new distributors, but encourage them to contact you, and definitely book in a weekly review. At the end of the Skype call, you should have the weekly review booked, and if it isn't booked, make sure it's booked by the end of the webinar, so that you've got a date in your diary where you're going to do a full review on Skype with your new distributor. Step 3 is the most important step, which is to learn the system. And the way that we do that is largely through webinars and workshops. And it's the system which produces the income. All we do is to teach the system. Their job is to learn the system. That's their responsibility. Our job is to give them enough of the right information to help them make progress in the business. Speaking to the sponsor every day, Facebook every day, and going on 2 webinars each week. The Wednesday night webinar, 10 Steps team webinar, and attending the local workshop. Now, if you go to the 10steps.info, you can direct people to the 10steps.info and click to book the event. So if they haven't booked on the Skype call, I would encourage them to book by the end of the webinar. It's really, really important. So step 4 is sharing the opportunity with other people. And the illustration here is of a team of 10 active distributors wide. And it's just an example of what you could do with just a small team of people. So obviously what we're aiming to do is to help our new distributors create their own profitable retail business. Once they've got their profitable retail business, we then promote that business to other people through advertising and speaking to people they know. And here's just an example of what you could text, or what they could text to their warm market, to people they know, or on Facebook to get people looking at the 15-minute video. But a team of 10 people and a turnover of 11 grand will pay at least £1,000 plus per month. And we can help them do that on a part-time basis. And this is illustrated in the Clean Easy bonus chart, which I don't need to go into great detail here, except to say the unusual thing about the Clean Easy network is it's a retail-driven network, which means people can make money straight away. They can get into profit in the first few days and make £300, £400, £500 a month on their own immediately. But if they then promote the concept to other people, they can grow their income very quickly to the gold distributor level. And finally, there is some useful information. The 10steps.info resource site is a crucial training resource for all new distributors. The service center. The service center is great, but I always recommend new distributors contact their sponsor first, unless it's something that the sponsor can't deal with, like an account query or something. But the service center is open Monday to Friday, which is great. Barney's print shop, if they need slips, catalog slips, that's the place to go. And that basically concludes what we will cover on the induction webinar. And it is the core points of the Getting Started pack. So it's nothing new. It's all comprehensively covered, everything that they will need to do to get off to a really good start in the business. Number 1, having an effective retail plan that's really thoroughly. Number 2, communicating upline on a daily basis system. And number 4, sharing the opportunity with other people. So all of those things are covered comprehensively by an experienced distributor on your behalf. So all you have to do is when you're getting people up and running in the business, is send a welcome email, send them a welcome card, direct them to the 10steps.info site via the welcome email, and then book the Skype call, do the Skype call, give them a brief overview, get to know them, book them into the webinar, and then book them into the events. That's really this process summarized in a nutshell, and we will do the rest. So we do the lion's share of the work for you. But if you use that system, your people will get off to a confident start, and you'll grow your income and their income. Step up.